Dr. Sarah Chen had seen many strange things during her 3 years aboard the interstellar research station Harmony Point. But nothing quite prepared her for the sight of 2 juvenile Carvathi wrestling on the floor of the observation deck. The Carvathi were apex predators from a death world called Carvath Prime, where the gravity was twice that of Earth, and every creature seemed designed to kill efficiently. Adults stood nearly 8 feet tall, with sleek fur that ranged from midnight black to deep crimson, powerful limbs tipped with retractable claws, and faces that combined feline grace with something distinctly alien. Their eyes glowed faintly in dim light, and their teeth could pierce through standard hull plating if they wanted to. Most species in the Galactic Council gave Carvathi a wide berth. Their reputation as fearsome warriors and hunters preceded them across 1,000 star systems. When Ambassador Threx had arrived at Harmony Point with his family in tow, the station administrator had quietly suggested that human personnel maintain a respectful distance. Sarah had ignored that suggestion almost immediately. The 2 cubs currently tumbling across the deck were Threx's offspring, Kale and Mira. At 6 standard years old, they were still small by Carvathi standards, roughly the size of Earth lions, but already showing the predatory grace their species was famous for. Their fur was softer than their father's, marked with juvenile spots that would fade as they matured. Right now, they were making sounds that Sarah could only describe as growls, mixed with something almost like laughter. Kale had his sister in what might have been a headlock, but Mira twisted with liquid grace, and suddenly Kale was on his back, her paw pressing down on his chest. Sarah watched from her seat near the observation window, a datapad forgotten in her lap. She had been reviewing xenobiology reports, but the cubs were far more entertaining. "Human Sarah!" Kale spotted her first, his ears perking up. He scrambled out from under his sister and bounded toward her with an enthusiasm that would have terrified anyone who didn't know better. "Human Sarah, watch! I can jump from the upper platform now!" Before Sarah could respond, Mira had intercepted her brother, shouldering him aside with surprising force. "No, human Sarah watches me first. I learned a new hunting crouch from father." The 2 cubs immediately began shoving each other, their growls increasing in volume. Sarah could see their claws extending slightly, though she knew they had excellent control even at their young age. Still, the station's other personnel would probably panic if they saw this. "Hey, both of you," Sarah said calmly, setting her datapad aside. "That's enough." The effect was immediate. Both cubs froze, their ears swiveling toward her. There was something about human voices that seemed to capture their attention in a way that even their father's commanding tone didn't quite match. Sarah had noticed it weeks ago and had been using it to her advantage ever since. She patted the floor beside her chair. "Come here, both of you." Kale and Mira looked at each other, then back at Sarah. They approached more slowly now, their earlier aggression forgotten. When they reached her, they sat on their haunches, tails curled around their legs, looking up at her with those luminous eyes. Sarah smiled. It had taken her a while to learn Carvathi body language, but she was getting better at it. The position they held now, with ears forward and tails still, was attentive and respectful. They were waiting to see what she wanted. Instead of speaking, Sarah simply shifted in her chair and settled more comfortably into the cushioned seat. Then she patted her lap. The cubs stared at her. For a moment, neither moved. This was clearly not a behavior they had encountered before. Carvathi culture was formal and hierarchical, especially when it came to physical contact. Touching was reserved for family units and carefully negotiated social bonds. But Sarah wasn't Carvathi, and she had been slowly introducing the cubs to human concepts of affection. Kale moved first, always the bolder of the 2. He approached cautiously, sniffed at Sarah's hand when she extended it, then carefully placed his front paws on her knees. He was heavy, much heavier than an Earth cat of similar size, but Sarah had grown stronger during her time in the station's variable gravity sections. "That's it," she encouraged softly. "Come on up." With surprising delicacy, Kale climbed into her lap, circling once before settling down. His purr started immediately, a deep rumbling sound that Sarah could feel through her whole body. She ran her hand along his back, feeling the powerful muscles beneath the soft fur. Mira watched this with what Sarah had learned to recognize as intense jealousy. The female cub's tail began to twitch, and her ears flattened slightly against her head. "There's room for you too, Mira," Sarah said, patting the remaining space on her lap. Mira needed no further invitation. She practically leaped up, squeezing in beside her brother. For a moment, the cubs squirmed, trying to establish dominance even in this new situation, but Sarah placed a hand on each of them. "Settle down," she said firmly. "There's enough space for both of you. No competing." The cubs relaxed, and soon both were purring in harmony. Sarah sat there with two juvenile apex predators draped across her lap, feeling their warmth and the gentle rise and fall of their breathing. It was, she reflected, probably the strangest and most wonderful moment of her entire career. The observation deck door hissed open, and Ambassador Threx entered. The massive Carvathi warrior stopped dead when he saw the scene before him. Sarah looked up and smiled. "Good afternoon, Ambassador." Threx's expression was difficult for her to read, but his ears were tilted in a way she had come to associate with confusion. He approached slowly, his movements careful and controlled. "Dr. Chen," he said, his voice a deep rumble, "my offspring are in your lap." "Yes, they are," Sarah confirmed. "Is that a problem?" Threx seemed genuinely at a loss for words. "This is not typical behavior. Carvathi young do not engage in such close contact with other species. It is considered dangerous for both parties." Sarah looked down at the two cubs, who had barely stirred at their father's arrival. Both were now in that half-asleep state that young creatures of many species seem to share. Content and warm and safe. "They were fighting," Sarah explained, "competing for my attention. So I showed them they could both have it, that they didn't need to compete." Threx moved closer, studying the scene with those predators' eyes. Sarah knew he could kill her in a heartbeat if he chose, but she felt no fear. She had spent enough time with the ambassador to understand that beneath the warrior exterior was a father who cared deeply for his children. "You do not fear them," Threx observed. It wasn't a question. "Should I?" Sarah asked. "They're children, Ambassador. Yes, they're strong and they have claws and teeth, but they're still learning about the world, still figuring out how to control all that power they're developing." "Most species cannot see past the predator," Threx said quietly. He settled into a nearby chair, his large frame making it look comically small. "They see my children and think only of danger. The station administrator requested we keep Kale and Mira confined to our quarters unless supervised." Sarah frowned. "That's ridiculous. They're young. They need space to play and explore." "I agree, but fear is a powerful motivator." Threx's gaze softened as he watched his cubs. "You are the only one who has treated them as what they are. Children, not monsters in waiting." "That's because they're not monsters," Sarah said simply. She scratched behind Mira's ears, and the cub's purr intensified. "They're smart and curious and full of energy, just like any other kids their age." "Your species is strange, Dr. Chen," Threx said, but there was warmth in his voice. "We have known humans for only a few decades, and already you confound us at every turn. You pack bond with anything. You adopt creatures that should terrify you. You see potential friends where others see only threats." Sarah laughed softly. "I suppose that's true. We've been doing it on Earth for thousands of years. We turned wolves into dogs, wild cats into pets. We've raised orphaned bears and lions and tigers. It's just part of who we are. It is a dangerous trait, Threx warned. Not all predators can be trusted. I know, Sarah acknowledged. But I also know that trust has to start somewhere. And your children have shown me nothing but curiosity and affection. Yes, they're strong, and they play rough sometimes. But they've never hurt me, not once. They're careful around me, even when they're excited. Threx was quiet for a long moment. Then he stood and approached, kneeling down beside Sarah's chair. Up close, he was even more imposing, but Sarah didn't flinch. The ambassador reached out one massive paw and gently touched his daughter's head, then his son's. The gesture was tender, full of paternal love. "You have given my children something I could not," he said softly. "Acceptance, not fear, not caution, just acceptance." "They deserve it," Sarah replied. "Every child deserves to be accepted for who they are." Cale stirred in Sarah's lap, blinking sleepily up at his father. "Father, human Sarah is warm and soft, and her heartbeat is nice to listen to." "It sounds like prey," Mira added drowsily, "but not scared prey. Happy prey." Sarah chuckled. "I'm not sure if I should be flattered or concerned by that description." Threx's expression shifted into what Sarah had learned was a Carvathi smile, showing just a hint of those dangerous teeth. "Take it as the compliment it is meant to be. My daughter is saying you are comfortable, that you make her feel safe." "Works both ways," Sarah said, continuing to stroke the cub's fur. "They make me feel pretty safe, too." "That is well," Threx said, "because I must tell you something, Dr. Chen. In Carvathi culture, when young cubs choose to rest with someone in this manner, when they share body heat and heartbeat, it is a bonding behavior. They are claiming you as pack." Sarah blinked. "Pack?" "Family," Threx clarified. "Extended family, at least. It is not a bond formed lightly among my people. It means they trust you completely. That they would defend you as they would defend me or their mother." Sarah looked down at the two cubs in her lap, feeling a strange warmth in her chest that had nothing to do with their body heat. "I'm honored," she said sincerely. "It also means," Threx continued, a hint of amusement in his voice, "that you are now responsible for helping to teach them, to guide them. They will seek your approval and your wisdom as they would seek mine." "Oh," Sarah said, the implications sinking in. That's a big responsibility." "Yes," Threx agreed. "Do you accept it?" Sarah didn't hesitate. "Of course I do." Threx nodded, satisfied. He stood and moved back to his chair. "Then we should discuss their education. They are at an age where they must learn not only the ways of Carvathi warriors, but also how to interact with other species. How to control their strength, how to understand that not everyone shares our resilience." "I can help with that," Sarah said. "And maybe this is something other species need to see too. That humans and Carvathi can form these bonds. That our children can play together and learn from each other." "A bold suggestion," Threx mused. "The Council will not approve easily." "The Council doesn't have two adorable predator cubs sleeping in their lap right now," Sarah pointed out. "It's harder to fear something when you've seen it at its most vulnerable." Threx made a sound that might have been laughter. "You are wise beyond your years, Dr. Chen. And perhaps you are right. Perhaps the future lies not in careful distance, but in brave connection." They sat together in comfortable silence for a while. The ambassador and the xenobiologist watching over the sleeping cubs. Outside the observation window, stars wheeled slowly past, countless worlds spinning through the void. Sarah thought about humanity's journey to the stars, about all the species they had met, the alliances they had formed. People often said humans were crazy, that they didn't have the proper sense of caution other species possessed. Maybe that was true. But maybe that fearlessness, That willingness to reach out even to creatures that could easily harm them, maybe that was humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. After all, someone had to be the first to sit down and let the predator cubs climb into their lap. Someone had to show the universe that trust was possible, that bonds could form across the vast gulf of species difference. As Kale and Mira slept peacefully against her, their purrs a gentle rumble, Sarah smiled. She had come to the stars to study alien life, to learn and document and understand. She hadn't expected to become a part of an alien family. But looking at the sleeping cubs, feeling their trust and affection, she wouldn't have it any other way. This was the real work of building a galactic community. Not treaties and trade agreements, though those were important. But moments like this. Simple, powerful moments of connection. The predator cubs had competed for her attention, and she had shown them there was enough love to go around. In doing so, she had built a bridge between two species, one small moment of trust at a time. And really, Sarah thought, wasn't that what being human was all about?